What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, we'll be joined by Brian Kamenetzky from Locked On Lakers. The Lakers are on a 5-game win streak despite still missing Anthony Davis. Are they starting to come together and form a team identity in LA? Plus, LeBron James playing some of the best basketball of his career, voicing some of his frustration with the Lakers front office and ownership. We'll get to all that in just a moment. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Are you looking for a delicious treat, but you don't want all of that fat and calories, right? Then you've got to try Built Bar. Look, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Built Bar are the number one protein bars on the market. It's because every single bar is coated in 100% delicious chocolate. They're soft, they're easy to chew. They've got so many incredible flavors to choose from, like churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond, cookies and cream, salted caramel, strawberry, raspberry. I could just go on and on and on and on. My personal favorite is coconut brownie chunk, though. But you really can't go wrong with a single bar on their menu. Every single bar is low cal, low sugar, high protein, high fiber. Amazing if you're on a keto diet. Amazing if you're trying to cut back a little bit, really stick to those New Year's resolutions. You can check them out. Just go to built.com and use promo code LOCKEDON15 to get 15% off your very next order of the best tasting protein bars on the market. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON15 for 15% off at built.com. Joining us now is Brian Kamenetzky, the host of Locked On Lakers. You can find wherever you listen to your podcasts, including YouTube. Just search Locked On Lakers. Brian, now 19-21 on the season, riding a 5-game win streak, just on the outside of play-in tournament territory in the Western Conference are the LA Lakers after a tumultuous season, to say the least, right? A lot of just trying to figure stuff out. Does it feel like this Lakers team is starting to put together some semblance of an identity, starting to kind of figure themselves out?
Well, I mean, look, you say, just on the cusp of a play-in spot. I prefer to be more optimistic and think of it as they're 2 games outside the 5. I mean, the win over Sacramento on Saturday, they're 2 games behind the Kings now in the standings, and they're basically 5 through 13 in the West is tied. I mean, so the Lakers are part of that group. They are playing better than almost anyone in that group. 5 in a row. They've gone 17-11 since that just catastrophic 2-10 start. And you look at it, they're now ahead of the Jazz in the standings. They're playing better than Portland. They're playing better than Minnesota. They're certainly playing better than Phoenix, who are in a free fall. The Clippers have lost 6 in a row. Golden State is treading water at best until Steph gets back. And the Kings are, respectable, but they're still like the Lakers are playing as well as any team in the Western Conference, aside from the top 2 or 3 teams.
So when you look at this and you look at that big win, against the Sacramento Kings coming away, being able to pull that one out, and you go to LeBron James, who had a one-on-one with the Athletic Sam Amick, and basically kind of dropped this bombshell quote, right, of what should the organization be doing, and LeBron James basically boils it down to, y'all know what the F should be happening, right? And this is in the context of what we've been discussing with this Lakers team seemingly since the offseason, right? The future draft picks that are being almost held hostage by ownership at this point. Like when you look at this situation, you've got LeBron James, who in 4 games since turning 38 years old, he's averaging 38 points per night in those 4 games.
Can't wait till he's 50.
Yeah,
look at the production, 50 point averages every year. What is birthday?
With bionic legs. Like, there we go. We're gonna figure out some way to keep LeBron James going. But like, what do you make of this situation, Brian, and how this, like, the Lakers are playing well enough, and they're at the level of play that they're at right now. It's kind of almost malpractice at this point, right? That the ownership hasn't figured out a way to add more to this team.
Yeah, yes and no. Once the season started, I think the assumption, the Lakers, I think, went into the year thinking that we don't need to make for example, the Buddy Hield Miles Turner deal. We don't have to make that now, because that trade will be available to us in November, in December, in January, because the Pacers are going to suck. Except the Pacers haven't cooperated. They're 23-18, and they're 3rd or 4th or 5th in the Eastern Conference, and they're not going to. Even if they do decide to trade Miles Turner, this is something we talked about on Monday's show for Locked On Lakers. Like, even if they decide to trade for Miles Turner, they aren't necessarily going to do a deal that brings them back something that they don't want, which would be Russell Westbrook. And so that kind of transformative trade, or the most transformative trade that's out there that always gets talked, I don't think that's an option anymore. So the question becomes, what could they be using these picks to get right now? And LeBron, I think, as dialed in as he is and as much pressure as he wants to put on the organization, that's not what he's really thinking of. He's not thinking of, well, it's a seller's market and we can't figure out, what kind of trades are out there and who's on the block. And he doesn't care. He's like, he's just F them picks. If you are holding on to those things, Rob Pelinka, while there's a good offer out there, please stop doing that. That's all. That's what he's saying. But the problem is, I don't think there is a big transformative trade out there. The good news for the Lakers is maybe they're in a place now where, an Alec Burks kind of deal, like let's say he becomes available. Certainly the Pistons don't need him long-term. That kind of player, Richardson on San Antonio, some of these more marginal things might be something that could help them a little bit more than it would have seemed like a couple weeks ago. But that big swing, trade Westbrook, trade the 2 picks, blockbuster, I don't think is an option, at least not yet.
So the big swing might not be there. Do you think LeBron, with his comments to Sam Amick, are misplaced, misguided, or do you think he's kind of on the money and justified in how he feels at this point with this team?
I think they are on the money. I think they're justified. I think they're understandable. I think he's off base. I think it's all of the stuff because LeBron is thinking about LeBron and he wants to play meaningful basketball. He wants to do that in LA because he doesn't want to leave LA. He wants to have all of the things that he wants. His family is comfortable in Los Angeles. They're not moving again. If LeBron needs to switch franchises because his team isn't performing in a way that he wants, and he wants to play playoff basketball and all that stuff, and he can't do it with the Lakers, then he has to choose between being away from his family at 38, going on 39 years old next year, and maybe 40, 41, which is a harder thing to do as you get older.
50 further down the line.
50 further down the line. Well, actually, by then his kids are in college. It's not so
there you
hard.
Go. Yeah.
Bronny's been a pro Bron could be retired by then. And so, and he doesn't want to do that. And he also wants to play meaningful games. And what he's trying to get to do is do both of them at the same time. And that means he's less interested in whether or not the Lakers make a really good trade that serves them in the long term, in the next 3 or 4 years, 5 years down the road, with those picks. He wants his stuff now. That's what you would expect from him. He did say, the franchise is doing what they think is best for them, acknowledging that their timeline and my timeline might not be exactly the same. But I also think it's no coincidence that he kind of expanded this whole, when he talked to ESPN's Dave McMenamin going into the weekend about Bronny and playing with Bronny. He was like, I don't have to play on the same team as Bronny James. I just want to play on the same floor with him. Same team would be great. But so that means, hey, Lakers, if you are willing to make these deals, that it goes beyond next season, that player option that I have for 2 years from now, I'm not just going to walk out the door because I want to go to Atlanta because that's where Bronny happens to have been drafted. Like, I think he's sending signals to the Lakers that, hey, that second, it really could be a 2-year commitment if you are willing to make this team better.
The Lakers have found a way to win, this most recent stretch of games and, finding a way to win without Anthony Davis. But what's the latest on AD? What is his timetable kind of looking like right now?
The Lakers, AD spoke to the media ahead of, I'd have to go back and look at it. I think it was the Atlanta game on New Year's Eve or New Year's Eve, and said, the healing is going as it should. And he's almost pain-free and all of that stuff. But he said, I'm not putting a timetable on it because when you put a timetable on it, everybody gets mad if you don't meet the timetable, which is true. The Lakers have since said, and Adrian Wojnarowski has reported that, he's getting closer and the next set of scans look good. And he's, going to get out and run a little bit and all that. So it seems like it's going okay. And the worst case scenarios for AD at least during the season, are currently off the table. He's not going to have season-ending surgery. He's not, but like, is he going to be back in a week? Probably not. Is he going to be back in 2 weeks? Maybe. End of January seems like that's certainly a possibility. The good thing for the Lakers is they bought themselves a little bit of time. So even if they do drop a couple games, Monday night in Denver, that's always a difficult game. They've gained more contact with the rest of the conference. So if they do hit a couple of game losing streak, it's not the end of the year. Whereas 2 weeks ago, a 3 or 4 game losing streak would have looked like the end of it all.
Can the Lakers continue to rack up some wins and give themselves a bit more of that buffer without Anthony Davis? What is the ceiling of this Lakers team with a healthy AD and with just a healthy lineup all across the board, which they have yet to have this season? Of course, you'll have us covered for all that and more over at Locked On Lakers. Brian, I appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
No worries. Thanks.